Hi, welcome to Module 7's videos. This entire module is devoted to 44 tricks that you can use to get on shows. We're going to divide them up 11 per video, so this one, 7-1, is the first 11 tricks that I have used to get on the radio. Okay, trick number 1. I'm going to do every radio show that I get invited to. Every one of them. I did a radio show one time where the host claimed 25 listeners. That's right, only 25 people were going to listen or download to the show. It's still worth doing. I'm still going to do it. There is no show beneath you. There is no show too small. Why? It's great practice. Use it as practice. If only 25 people are listening, try a new answer. Try a couple of news stories that are a little edgier maybe than you would tell otherwise. The idea is, though, I'm going to use every example, every opportunity to practice so that when I do get good, I'll be better. And also, no one wants to be the first person to interview you. You're not a major catch like interviewing Mother Teresa or something. So they don't want you to be first. They want you to have had some practice. So I'm going to do 5 incredibly small bad shows if it helps me build both my resume of shows that I've done and my ability to do a good show. Point number 2, I'm going to call the producer directly. Okay, call the producer. But when are you going to do it? It's very important to think about this. What is the producer doing before the show? Freaking out about the show. So you don't want to call before the show. You want to call after. All right, so point number 2 is I want to call the show's producer right after the show and talk to them then. That's the highest likelihood of actually getting them and not getting an answering machine. Number 3, I'm not going to call them until after the show ends by 15 minutes. So the perfect thing to do is wait for the show to end, wait 15 minutes, and then call them. That's the opportune time. Think about it if it was your job. What would you want to do when the show is over? Get out of there, right? But they have to plan the next day's show. They're not going to stick around for 3 or 4 hours after the show. 15 minutes after the show ends is the perfect time to call a producer and get them on the air. To get them, not to get them on the air, but to get them on the phone so you can get on the air. Point number 4. Morning shows are very different though, and we want to pay different attention to a morning show. Can you call the morning show beforehand? No. Are you going to call it after? Hard. So you need to start paying attention to the most important person at the radio station. Who is that? The receptionist that answers the telephone. Point number 4 is I'm going to make friends with the receptionist and learn when the producers are around. Hey, Sally, this is Jim again. I'm sorry to keep bothering you. Can you let me know what Joe's schedule is? Joe's the producer of Building Homes Now. When's a good time to catch him? Point number 4, I'm going to smooze the receptionist so she tells me the best time to call. Number 5, I'm going to call the afternoon shows as early in the morning as possible. Think about this. If it's an afternoon show, it probably goes on at 3, 4 in the afternoon. The producer probably shows up at 9 or 10 in the morning. That's when you want to call because they're not going to stick around after the show. Say the show ends at 6 o'clock. What do they want to do? Go home and eat dinner with their family, right? Just like what we want to do. So I want to call that producer early in the morning. Again, you've got to know what the show is about, and therefore you need to know their schedule. You need to know these things to make the appropriate call at the appropriate time. Point number 6, call the switchboard and get through that way. I already talked about the importance of knowing the receptionist, but that's just the entry point. Getting on a friendly conversation point with some of the hosts, some of the producers, the program director. There's lots of people that you can make friends with at a radio station before you get to the host. I've even gone in through salesmen before and said, I'm thinking about buying ads on this station. I wonder, though, if I do an interview first, if I can test it out. What about that technique? I'll buy ads if I get an interview. Oh, then I decided not to buy the ad. What happened? Anyway, it's a great way to do it. Use the people at the station, even the interns, as your way of getting to shows. Number 7, ask for people by name like you know them. All right? So if I do call the switchboard, and I say I want to talk to the producer of a building show. Don't call up and say, hey, I'd like to talk to the producer of your building show. Call up and say, I would like to talk to Joe Smith. Like you know him. The receptionist will put you right through. Pretend like you know what you're doing, and people will think you know what you're doing. Number 8, don't bother the host. As I've said before, the host does not want to be contacted unless it's a really small show. And again, as I've pointed out, even my show has executive producers, and I'm still a pretty small show. But still, I would prefer if you went through one of my executive producers. That's their job. I pay them for that. And if you contact me, you're going out of order. So always remember that the producer should be your first contact. That's where you want to start. Don't go to the host unless it's a C-level show with probably 1,000 listeners or something like that. Also, if you're a fan, let them know. Let them know that you listen to the show every day. All of those sort of things can make you seem like a better guest. Number 9, call the host and the producer if you've already been on the show. So one of the things is that the host will say, oh, we'd love to have you back. You were a great guest. That's a buzzword to the producer, get this guy on again. In that situation, I want to call the producer soon, the next day, and say, wow, Joe really liked me. He said I should be back on. Can we schedule something now for a couple of months from now? Can I let you know that I'm available if you have a cancellation? Again, we're going to use that comment from the host as a way to build our friendship with the producer and get in even better so that you can get invited back. Number 10, lots of hosts have other jobs, and that's the best place to find them. So let's talk about, like, for example, a car show. Every station has some sort of gardening show, a home maintenance show, a car show. Those people have real jobs. What do they do during the week? They sell cars. They work on cars. They run a car something or another. Maybe if they're a gardener, they have a garden company. How would I reach out to that person? I would reach out to that person on Monday at their place of other business, not the radio station. If they have a gardening company, call the company Monday and say, I'm a big fan of Joe's radio show on Saturdays. I'd love to be a guest. Can I talk to Joe? See, that Joe's not expecting a radio call at his traditional work. He'll take that call. I've had huge success with this particular method. And finally, this is one that I've pointed out before. Number 11, call the program director and ask them for introductions. They're not normally going to do this. It's something a little bit unusual, but a nice person's going to introduce you to hosts and to producers. If you're nice to the program director and say how much you like the station, they will help you. So trick number 11, go through the program director. I'll be back in the next video starting with point number 12 in just a minute.